going on, guys? Welcome back to D-Life HD. This is Victor, and today we're going to be discussing the recently announced exclusive Monster Hunter game for the Nintendo Switch. So without any further delay, let's jump right into it.
Switch it up. I was a worker, had to upgrade to a boss. Used to live in the hood, but had to upgrade to a loft.
So if for some reason you missed it, a couple weeks back, Nintendo held another Direct Mini Partner Showcase, and they announced something extremely awesome. And that was not one, but two new games in the Monster Hunter franchise. I've said it in previous videos, but I am an extreme fan of the Monster Hunter franchise. It is part of the reason why I've stuck around with Nintendo is because they've always had good Monster Hunter exclusives on their consoles. I mean, there was even, in America, 4 Monster Hunter games on 3DS, and in Japan, I believe there was 6 or 7, including spin-offs. So, obviously, this is a franchise that is closely associated with the Nintendo brand, even though it is a Capcom-developed game. Now, I did play the most recent one, Monster Hunter World, on the Xbox One. I really enjoyed it, but I was looking for more of a traditional experience, and those traditional games were last seen on the 3DS. And so, when they revealed Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch in this mini partner showcase a couple weeks ago, I was over the moon with excitement. I have not been excited for a game to this degree in so long, probably since Breath of the Wild's launch. This game looks fantastic, and although it does have a lot of quality of life fixes, it is more in the vein of the traditional games. One thing that a casual audience might know, in fact I didn't know this for the longest time being a Monster Hunter fan, something I never noticed, was that Monster Hunter always had a home console experience and a portable experience. And those portable games were the more successful traditionally in the East, in Japan specifically, because they are a very work-focused culture, and so being able to play those games when available on the go is very important to them. That's why the Nintendo Switch is so popular in Japan in general, for those who don't know. And so Monster Hunter World was more of trying to appeal to a new Western audience that they hadn't quite reached, and that was one of those home console experience games. And so of the 5th generation of Monster Hunter games, we've gotten World, which as I mentioned, is a home console version. And we haven't gotten a portable version yet. So for each generation, we typically have a home and portable version. And although they're not the same game every time, we just know that by generation, this is something that has traditionally happened. And so Monster Hunter World still did really good as a home console game in Japan, but a lot of people, including myself, were looking for that portable experience from the 5th generation of Monster Hunter games. And Monster Hunter Rise is exactly that. On top of its announcement, we also received a bunch of gameplay and discussion from Tokyo Game Show 2020, which just happened this previous weekend, and they showed off a lot of awesome stuff. One thing about this game that is in line with Monster Hunter World is there are no load times between areas on the map. It is one very open experience, and one thing that's exclusive to Monster Hunter Rise, and this is where the title of the game comes from, is it's very focused on verticality. They've introduced a new thing called the Wire Bug. This is an exclusive thing that is only in this game. It has not been in any previous Monster Hunter games. And it basically allows you to be, I think the easiest thing to compare it for a Western audience is Spider-Man. Yeah, so I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and I love him as a character, and I like his the way he moves around, and so kind of implementing that into Monster Hunter is going to be really awesome. You can sling around this wire and flip up cliffs and climb and do all these awesome things and tricks and stuff. And it's also implemented into the combat as well. You know, you can use the wire bug to attach it and do more long-range attacks with certain weapons and do different slides and flips and that kind of thing. And so the movement of this game just feels so awesome, and I haven't even got my hands on it yet because they haven't released a demo of any kind. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to, is Monster Hunter games have almost always had a demo of some kind for the past 3 or 4 generations. And so, although this game doesn't come out until March, which is relatively soon for a game to be announced and come out, it's about the same distance between it and when they announced World and its release. I am still really eager to be able to play a demo of it of some kind, or really experience it, and so I hope they do a live demo. The Switch hasn't had a ton of demos for games of this nature for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I'm hoping that Capcom pulls through and gives us a demo of some kind within the next few months here so we can get our hands on it and really experience it. And so it's just, as a fan of the franchise, I'm over the moon. As I said, I can't wait for this to come out. It's really leaning into that local multiplayer aspect on their website. That's one of the first things you see is a picture of 4 Nintendo Switches all hooked up locally to play. And that's something that I have fond memories of with the 3DS, and me being a owner of 2 Switches and having friends that all have Switches. It sounds like we are all going to be interested in buying this game, and it's going to bring me back to the days of playing Monster Hunter on the 3DS locally with all my friends. So I'm extremely excited in that regard. On top of that, they announced a second Monster Hunter game, which is a follow-up to the previously released Monster Hunter Stories, which was a spin-off game for the 3DS. It was all about focused on collecting monsters and competing in turn-based combat. And so it was really in the vein of Pokemon games, actually, kind of going for that appeal. More kid-friendly. It's less about going out and graphically attacking these monsters, and more focused on cartoony graphics with a more detailed story to follow along with it. And I must say, the graphics didn't necessarily lend itself well to the 3DS. It's something that would have been pulled off a lot better if it was on a home console, and now we are seeing that. The graphics are, to me, almost on par with Breath of the Wild and how it looks, if not better. It looks extremely amazing. We haven't gotten any video of combat yet. It's mostly just been story trailers to kind of introduce the game to people who may have missed out on it on the 3DS, or also it launched on iOS and I believe Android as well for a $20 price tag. So if you haven't got a chance to play it and you're interested, I highly recommend you go pick it up on mobile. The port on mobile is absolutely fantastic. It is just, you get the full experience playing it on mobile as you would playing it on the 3DS where it was designed for. And so I highly recommend getting that, or if you can find it on sale. And yeah, it's another one I'm excited for. I really liked the first one. I actually got really far to the end. In fact, according to a guide, I was literally at basically the front door of the final boss almost. And I had a transfer for my SD card, and it ended up erasing all my save data. And so that was one of the newer games that saved the SD card rather than the cartridge. So I lost all that data, unfortunately. So I never got a chance to beat it. It's one of the few Monster Hunter games I haven't completed, but I will basically credit myself as playing the majority of it. So I am excited for this new one as well. I can't believe it. I mean, my favorite franchise. I didn't think these mini showcases could really pull forward with something that I would really enjoy and be excited for. But I guess not. They announced 2 games from my favorite franchise, so Capcom's really pulling through. I knew that they had something developed specifically for the Switch behind the scenes, because it seemed like their release schedule had been a little bit lackluster. We had Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate come over, which was a port from 3DS with upgraded features. We had Dragon's Dogma, various Mega Man games, and Street Fighter games, but there wasn't and Resident Evil as well. But there wasn't a lot of new content. It was mostly older games that they were bringing over. So I knew they had to be planning something big, and I mean, I could have waited years for them to release this game and still be excited, because I mean, it's a full-blown exclusive Monster Hunter game for my favorite console, and I'm really hoping that my friends who don't play Nintendo Switch might be interested in coming over to the platform now that they have Monster Hunter games, because yeah, it's definitely worth that entry price tag to play this awesome game on the Nintendo Switch.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this review below. We love talking to you guys. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like these. In the description of this video, you will find a link to our Discord. We have community game nights and generally love talking. Lastly, don't forget to check out our Twitter account for gameplay updates and latest releases. But most importantly of all, remember to stay 1-up.